I've done a lot of evaluations for a lot of years. If one looks at competency, sanity evaluations, I've done in excess of 8,000. I've seen a lot of people who've been guilty of just about anything you can imagine. I've seen some who clearly didn't seem to care. They were not remorseful. They didn't care what they had done. Ramiro Gonzalez seems very sincere in his remorse. Admits that he is guilty in this particular case, that what he did was wrong. He takes responsibility for that. And I think that's a big plus for him. And it's something that I frequently don't see. At this point in time, I would not diagnose him as an antisocial individual. I don't think that diagnosis would now be accurate, particularly in retrospect.
Back in 2005, I did an interview with a young boy. I say boy because when I first saw him and met him, he looked just like a little boy. And his name is Ramiro Gonzalez in Bandera, Texas. I met him, I had a hunch. There'd been a missing girl in Bandera County. And while I was doing another interview in Bandera with a real estate agent who was the victim that Ramiro was in jail for, I guess aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, I had this hunch that maybe he knew Bridget Townsend, just some hunch I got. Little did I know how it was going to shape me years later. So went in and did the interview, and he was just a little boy. He still looked like a little boy, even though he was in some big grown-up trouble. And then we just kept talking, and then I asked him, how do you know Bridget Townsend? And he just kind of stopped in his tracks and, looked around. He goes, well, I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know her. And I kept saying, do the right thing. You know that her mother wants to know where she's at. Do the right thing if you know where she's at. Well, the night that we left, Ramiro set his cell on fire, ended up just getting smoky because of the cinder blocks. And he told the sheriff, I want to take you to the girl. The lady said I need to do the right thing. So he did the right thing. He took them to that big ranch, and there was Bridget's remains. The lawman said one big rainstorm and her bones probably would have been washed away and nobody would have ever found her. But he did the right thing. And always struck me about that even though here he had done these horrific things, that he was still looking for some kind of guidance from some type of maybe even mother figure. Do the right thing, do the right thing. And he did the right thing. It always made me wonder, what if he had had some kind of help early on, some kind of structure to do the right thing, whatever that is.
Ramiro's life would have been completely different had only one person showed him love and affection or attention. I can't imagine what it would have done as a child to have someone hug him or tell him that he was deserving or that he mattered.
There's a sanctity, there's a sacredness in every single life. We all make mistakes. Some mistakes breed more hurt than others. Some you can't take back.
It's amazing how just one person can make a difference in someone's life.
Born in Dilley, Texas, in 1982. Maybe my mom was too young, my biological mother, whatever, but from birth, I was directly mailed off to my grandparents' home. They raised me. So when I say my parents, I'm speaking about mis abuelos, my grandparents.
My grandparents actually were raising Ramiro and my older cousin. We were very close. I spent more time with him, probably more than anyone else growing up. And I say more than anyone else because a lot of the times we weren't supervised. So it was just me and him and another one of my cousins. My grandmother's job, she's worked at the OST, which is a restaurant here in Bandera, for over 30 years now. She's a cook. My grandfather, he worked on the ranch that we stayed at, and my grandmother worked full time. So we just kind of took care of ourselves.
My grandfather was a rancher. Hard man. No room for crying. No room for being emotional. It's because he didn't know how to be. I don't think my parents knew how to communicate emotionally. And I think that was my biggest downfall. It's like, I wasn't hurting externally. It was emotionally.
Ramiro, when he was a child, there was no love and affection. He was never given a birthday party. He never had someone tuck him into bed or tell him good night. He had the bare minimum of what a human being could have to survive.
Yeah, I think I grew up way too fast. But there was nobody there to stop it.
Ramiro was 9 years old when he would drink. They would tell Ramiro, oh, come on, you can be the man, be a man.
It's from like the age of 6. It was just probably when I learned to drive. My perspective as a kid was like, I'm an adult.
Ramiro was usually our driver. He couldn't even reach the pedals at the time. He would drive me and Georgina in the ranch truck.
I had questions. Nobody had answers. It's tough, because you're searching for answers, and the only way you find them is by yourself. My mother, Julia Gonzalez, the relationship, we didn't have one.
Julia is Ramiro's mom. She was never a mom to Ramiro. She left. Julia is a very cold person. She's very shut off from the world. And she was a child who was having a child, and Julia didn't want to have Ramiro. She did a lot of things in the pregnancy, while she was pregnant with him, she did a lot of drugs. If someone had seen Ramiro with Julia, no one would have suspected that she was actually his mother. There was no love or affection there whatsoever. Like, he was an animal. He didn't exist to her.
My father, Jacinto Sanchez, I think I was 20 when I met him. It was Hondo, Texas, Medina County Jail.
His biological father's been in and out of prison and affiliated with the Mexican mafia. Just not a good person. Life hasn't been easy for any of us. And it's amazing how just one person can make a difference in someone's life. Having my dad, again, he was my saving grace. I don't know where my life would have been. I don't think that I would be alive right now if it hadn't been for my dad.
The only individual to reach out to me was my Aunt Loretta. She was like, why are you always by yourself? Where are you going? Why are you home so late?
She was married to my Uncle Johnny, and they lived with my grandparents for a little while. Lori was a shining light to everybody.
I was in class, and Jessica was crying. And the only thing that she basically told me was, I'm here to pick you up because, Loretta's dead.
She was amazing. She did show Ramiro love and affection. She was tragically killed by a drunk driver. Ramiro was about 14. She would have been the only positive, love, unconditional love that he had growing up from anybody. That impacted Ramiro a lot. It was that small little chance that he had. It was just taken.
Everything you've ever worked for, believed in, hoped in, it's like your only chance at a future. Like, if you're gonna make anything of your life, it has to be constructed on this individual's direction, her love. I started doing heavy drugs. Nobody really gave a damn. When you're at that stage in your life and you're a drug addict, you want help but you can't get it. You want help but you're just too ashamed to ask for it. You're not making any contributions to anybody's life, and especially not your own. What do you have to live for? Nobody wants to ask me if I want a way out. Nobody wants to ask me if I need help, if I want help. When you feel like you can't even trust your family, or you begin to hate your family because you feel like they should have been there for you. I mean, I was abused as a kid. I mean, I was abused sexually. I was abused physically, mentally. I had nobody to talk to.
We witnessed Julia's husband physically and verbally abuse her a lot. One of her husbands, he was very abusive to Ramiro, very, very abusive. Treated him like a dog. And that was kind of the norm. Julie didn't do much to protect Ramiro whatsoever. She wasn't there to take care of him, and she wasn't there to protect him from anybody else who was trying to cause him harm.
Most, if not all, the physical abuse that I suffered, and I mean physical, I mean getting, slammed up against the wall, grabbed by the throat, and picked up and told that you're not even a man, you're never gonna go through a man, you don't even know why you're here. I mean, there's a reason why I didn't want to be around everybody. There was a reason why I didn't want to be around certain people. There was a reason why you couldn't find me.
There was a lot of sexual abuse in the family. Family members abused all of the sisters, my mom, Julia included. No one cared enough to listen. And it was not talked about, it was never stopped, because that abuse continued on to the next generation, which was Ramiro and me.
Somebody knew about my abuse. Somebody knew. There's just no way you're not going to tell me you didn't know I was being abused. There's no way. But I don't know if it was, maybe it happened to them. Maybe they felt like, well, it'll go away one day. Those things don't go away.
So Ramiro has a child. She's about 23. Ramiro was roughly around 12, and Jennifer was about 19 when he got her pregnant. But Jennifer was an adult, and Ramiro was a child. He was a child when he got her pregnant. Had Ramiro been 19 and Jennifer been 12, he would have been sitting in prison for a whole different charge.
I was, at the same time searching for a way out. This is my escape. The drug is the only way to drown out the hurt. Probably my biggest regret, knowing that I probably could have really helped myself, but I allowed the shame and the addiction to just cut me down. I am sorry. I'm sorry for what I did. I know just how precious everything, or Bridget was. There's no doubt in my mind she had a better future than I did, a more bright future than I did. I wish I could give it back. I wish I could take away the hurt, the pain from everything. If, I've said this before, if there was a way that I could just drop my pills to make everything better, I wouldn't think twice. I had to deal with the fact of how to correct it as much as I could, finding ways to not only better myself, but contribute.
Ramiro has a friend. She was the first real person to show him love and affection. It's made a whole world of difference in him.
I live in Toronto, Ontario with my family, and I am a minister with the United Church of Canada. So I've known Ramiro for about 7 years, and our friendship has really evolved in that time. We started out speaking about what our day-to-day lives were like. I got to tell him about what it was like being the mother to 2 very, very small children. I've been really moved by Ramiro's resiliency, being able to take a situation that seems so dire and so bleak, with so many people telling him that his life isn't worth anything, and yet still being able to connect with others and move them in love. There are a lot of people who have been very positively affected by being in relationship with Ramiro. Ramiro makes people's lives better.
Ramiro Gonzalez, I believe he is genuine. He believes in God. He holds faith high on his list of things. So my mom passed away in December. He said, I heard, and he said, you know, I prayed about it. I prayed for you. And that's who he is. That's what I've seen. He is that type of person.
I know Ramiro Gonzalez, very short dude, sweet dude, very active, very sweet guy. You know, when you first get in there, you have to put a vest on, you get anxiety, like, oh my God, I gotta, you know, watch 84 inmates by myself. But I felt no danger with him. He was a very sweet guy. He at first stayed to himself, drew his pictures and everything, was reading books as I walked by the cell door, never gave me any problems. One of the things I always told to him, you know, and if he felt down, you know, don't let people change your spirit, you know, even the guards, you know, sometimes they can be hectic sometimes, you know. He kind of reversed that on me one day and used it against me and was just like, hey, Bess, don't let them change your spirit, you know, pray, you'll be okay. Go by his cell, you know, you'll see him reading his Bible, or, you know, you try not to bother him, you know, you just make sure he's still breathing in there, you know, because he'll have his little light on and, you know, reading his Bible. And I always get on him and tell him, like, hey, turn on the light, you're not gonna be able to see. He's like, I already can't see, you know, that's not making no better, you know, reading in the dark. So little things like that, but he kept the Bible.
I'm definitely not the person I was 20 years ago. I'm not even the person I was before then. Today I love reading. I mean, I can't tell you how much I love reading. You couldn't pay me to read in the world. I mean, I want to be instrumental in the lives of people, so I search for ways to do so. The thing that actually brings me the most joy, like I guess like the greatest sense of hope, is Brian, Thea, you know, Val, Randy, Annie, and you know, my own little personal relationships they know of.
Ramiro relates to his faith, relates to God, relates to the people around him, and it's been really moving to see how concerned he is in every single letter that I receive about my well-being, about my family's well-being, about my children's well-being. His life is very centered around prayer. He often talks about prayer in terms of a conversation, in terms of having conversation with God. When my father was dying, he was constantly talking about that my father was in his prayers.
Love, mercy, grace, forgiveness, all these attributes of, you know, God. That's what's really, really been so instrumental in my life. Because you know what's hard to do? Forgive. But you know what's even harder? Forgive and then love that individual.
So Ramiro's become a really, really good friend, not only to me, but a friend to my family. I went into the relationship thinking I was going to do this nice thing by engaging in relationship with somebody who was in prison and waiting to die. And out of that has come an enormous learning in humility, because I have received just as much from Ramiro as I feel like I have given.
Having a support system has paid dividends to my sanity, my spirituality, hope, and it's become a driving force for more change. Now when my grandparents come and visit me, I tell them I love them. I tell my dad, look, I love you, Dad, you know, my grandfather. Every now and then he'll tell me I love you too, you know, and I got to go back and deal with it, because it's like, man, my dad told me he loved me. You know, I love my family. Like I told Jessica, it's all I want, it's my family back.
Everybody's life means something. God puts us here on this earth for something. I've struggled with whether or not he would forgive me for not being there for the last 20 years, but I wasn't the person that would have been good for Ramiro until I found healing myself, and being able to write him and just show him unconditional love and that I do care about him. It's just become something that I do daily, that I look forward to doing, and just sharing with him about my kids and letting him know someone cares.
It's reassuring. It helps to solidify an individual's worth. When you know that somebody really cares for you enough to actually, you know, even go out of their way just to spend time with you, it's therapeutic. It could be a lifesaver.
It's really tough to think about Ramiro being executed because Ramiro's never had a life. He was never given a life. He was never given a chance. Ramiro is just now being shown love and friendship for the first time in his life. He has people that care about him. I think that Ramiro should be given a chance to show what type of person that he actually is, and that he could be. And that was one thing that he lacked 20 years ago.
It would absolutely break my heart, not only for me and for the people who are close to him, but for the world as well, because there is lament when goodness is eradicated in the world, and that is what would happen.
Do I believe in the death penalty? Yes, I do. Do I think that the state always gets it right? No, I don't. But the person that I see or I have known for the past 5 years, if asked if I feel safe around him, I do. Do I feel that he has grown as an individual? I feel that he has.
I just really hope that they find it in their heart to, give him clemency so, he can make better choices for other people that may come in there. You could teach them some things. He's very knowledgeable. He's very patient. He's compassionate about people. Even when you're feeling down, hey, are you okay? He's very caring. I pray for the best for him. I pray that they have it in their hearts to give him clemency.
He is an individual who he has some goals and some aspiration if he is able to continue living. If his sentence is commuted, I think that would be a positive thing for all of us.
When you execute me, you're not executing me for my mistakes anymore. I'm better. I made myself better. I made myself greater. I've overcome, and I'm proud of myself. So if I was to be executed, then, again, I'll apologize for my mistakes, and I think fulfillment would be the word. So that's it.
Do you have anything else?